chord, and 2
Oh god.
enabling. Yeah, it's an unfortunate beast to this thing. Right, like pentatonics are immensely malleable to like lots of different situations, depending on how you use them. And most people just use them like a blues pentatonic box, you know.
I mean, I love the blues patch. So come on.
Yeah, it's cool. But play me a blues, right?
Whoa. But yeah, I set it up with a looper usually, and I just jam.
Yeah, do it without the looper. How can you carry it without the looper?
You put me on the spot here. I can only do the first shape. I'm just like stuck in the first shape now. What have you done?
All right, so like, if you focus on triads, that whole job becomes so much easier, and it becomes much more musical, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you know, thinking the whole point of this particular episode in the series was focusing in on some chord progressions anyway. So let's focus on blues today. If we think about A here, right, simple A triad, written version, and then you want to go to your 4 chord, you find the 3, you move it up a fret, and that's going to be the root note. So it'll be a, I'm going to do it with that big though, right, second inversion shape. So here's your root inversion A, then we're going to find the D chord, which is going to be, here's the 3rd, that'll be the 4th of the scale, so that's the root note.
Yeah.
You get a second inversion shape like that.
What's it, just a bar then?
Yeah. 7, 7,
Oh,
7.
okay.
Right.
I'm really sorry. I may or may not don't have my contacts in. But
All right. Well, I'll say some.
I mean, I can just put them in and take like 2 minutes.
Well, no, it's all right. We'll be fine. Okay. So on top of that, if we include the 7, right, the 2 7s.
I do love chucking that one in.
All right. So the 7 is found a tone below the root or a minor 3rd above the 5th.
Sure.
Right. So there's the root, tone down. Right. So nothing else about the shape changes. We only move this note down to 5.
Sure.
So the root note here on 7 down to 5. And we should end up with a shape like that, which goes 5, 6, 5.
Sometimes I'll be honest, actually, I just realized. Sometimes I think you're pointing with this one because I do have people doing that.
Right. Okay, so that's like, okay, root 7. But if we took it the 4 chord and we made it do the 7, well, the root's in the middle in the 4.
Yeah.
So the root's going to come down to 5. And we get the 7, 5, 7 kind of shape.
Whoa. What's I'm trying to recreate?
7, 7, 5, 7. So the G string's the one that's got the dominant 7th on it.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Okay, so those tones are super important, all right? They're the ones that are going to make your line sound like the chord, sound like you're playing a chord progression rather than just playing licks, which is, I got to say, my number one bugbear at this stage of my life is just hearing endless licks. People demo guitars and they just play licks. So, like, if we took those...
Pretty together. You can do so much with it.
Yeah, if we just took those, maybe we take an idea of like splitting. So splitting is this blues idea that we bend the minor 3rd in between the major 3rd and the minor 3rd.
That's pretty.
Yeah, like it's splitting because we're splitting the difference between major and minor. So like if you think of this one chord, here's the 3, there's the minor 3, right? So if we bend it in between. Now, pianists couldn't do that.
Yeah, unless you got a pitch for
it. Yeah, but that's not a piano, is it? Like,
no, it's not. Like, that's the keyboard.
Get a strong friend to like torque the frame of the piano. So when pianists do it, they do this. They hammer between the two.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
I mean, I'm a pianist as well.
Right. So if you take that approach and you start applying that to some chords, right? you can really hear those chords go past. I'm not playing anything crazy complicated, but you don't need anyone else to tell you what chord I'm on.
Yeah.
All right. That's how you got to practice.
Sure.
All right.
So
Loop pedals and backing tracks have a tendency, like they're good and fun, and you should use them, but you should use them inside a context. The stuff that's going to develop you the most is stuff where you have to keep track of the progression.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
I mean, it does. I've found that. Oh my god! I'm sorry that you can hear my cat. We just got 2 kittens, and they're going insane.
Well,
anyway.
I'll have a cat that'll come through here any moment. That'll be like, "You're not doing anything, so pat me."
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Our new ones are called Wallace and Gromit.
Oh, cute.
And they're like, "Attention, please." What the hell? By the way, can I just look at this?
Telly thin line P90s.
Well,
with a stop tailpiece.
Yeah, and Gibson style pick guard, Gibson style tone switch, Gibson style knob. And the weirdest part is that.
Oh, set neck. Wow.
Yeah. It's
they're just Gibson's
it's one of
the marketplace. So
that's what I love about Fender. They'll just be like, all right, let's just try something fucking weird. But this is Jim Adkins' signature.
Who?
And I picked it up. Jimmy Eat World. If you know them, I don't know.
Yeah, vaguely,
Yeah, I don't know them, but I picked it up and I started playing. I was like, I got back to uni. I was like, actually, that was really nice. And then I put a deposit and bought it in like 2 weeks. But yeah, so it's beautiful.
Okay.
It's such a nice tone, but I haven't done the amp up because my sister. It's all good today. It's all working out.
Okay, so first step, you take those tri-notes and you use those as your sweet notes, right? You can use that around your pentatonic scale to direct how you're going to make those lines sound like.
Oh.
Yeah. Little things too.
I really love those.
Chromatic lines, yeah. Well, okay, chromatic lines, how do we use them? Any 2 points between 2 chords we want to connect. So like we think of this A chord and this D chord. If we come back to here, that's the third of the D chord again, right? Right? So if we're going... Right, nice step off. Or... Right? That's called targeting your third. And like a really cool thing to do, a jazz player thing, is to target your thirds and sevenths. So like on the major on the major beats in a song, on the first downbeat, hit a third or a seventh.
Yeah, and then it leads you back into it. Yeah. Well,
no, it's more that it gives you all the color.
Yeah.
Right? Like here's a blues, right? So how do we get it with the dyad? Right? Like it's a dyad. It's just 2 notes.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
So, but you heard all the chord changes.
Yeah.
It's because we're hitting the third and the seventh. So the first one is the seventh and the third. Then we go the third and the seventh. Then we go the third and seventh again. And that's because the third tells you whether or not it's major or minor, and the seventh tells you whether or not it's a major seventh or a dominant seventh. And those two things tell you all of the things you need to know about what position in a key a chord is. Right? Because they tend to be unique to each chord. Well, not totally unique. Like the 2 and 3 chords have a minor seventh and a minor third. But if I do something like this, right? You can hear the chord changes going past because they're thirds and sevenths.
Yeah.
Right? And it's very, very descriptive for us. So if we plan a little bit about our improv, we go, okay, well, first chord, the important notes of this dude, and this dude.
Sure.
All right?
Well,
Second chord.
Hold on, was that the first one?
Yeah, it's the root, A.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if we include some of those notes in our solo, it's going to make it sound like A. as I hit this note, you know the chord change, because that's the 7th from D,
Yeah.
right? And because that works so well, like, because it's like, oh man, that's the change, it suddenly makes everything sound cool. I'm like, I wasn't doing anything too special. I'm doing the standard kind of, you know. Gotta change chords next. We're gonna do
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing you want to start practicing, is this idea of how do I connect the sounds of chords between each other,
Okay.
right? And that's the reason why your modal stuff is hit and miss.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, because you know you're playing over something. Right?
Mm.
In a mode, you've got all of this.
Yeah, it's just a bit much.
And it's
unless
like,
you're doing jazz.
well, even in jazz, that's not going to work. You know,
Yeah.
it's a hard lesson. It took me years to figure out that, like, what you need to hit are the good notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, you hit E major 7, your line has to sound like, right? Then we change to, then I need it to sound like that, like.
Like it sounds cool, but you're not going to be writing hit songs with that.
But you are, because that's the fundamental understanding of what makes a good line.
I was going to ask though.
Yeah.
Is it to it's you learn modes so that you know what you kind of can use? Like I know that they're
Yeah.
in
I mean,
saying that there's not set rules into what you can use, but you know what I mean. Like it shows you a bit of.
Yeah, I mean, look, the complicated answer is every note on the fretboard can work with any chord.
Yeah, exactly. That's what.
In a particular scenario, but the difficulty is trying to get access to which particular scenario am I in. So your arpeggios, your scales, they're all filters for the choice of, I don't know, we've got 6 times 22 choices here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
I did not think of that.
It's too many choices. It is just too many. So what you need to do is start with the lowest level of detail, and the ones that are the good notes are the triad notes.
Yeah.
All right. From there, you can break out. You could break out into extensions. You can break out into various types of scales.
I'm sorry. What the hell is an extent? Is it just like when you instead of like? Is it when you?
So like, okay, an extension, which we call it an extension these days, like an extension on your house, but it's supposed to be an extension.
Oh.
Because what we do is we take a chord.
Oh, extension.
A tension to it.
Yeah.
A tension. Another note from the scale, right? Right? Because it adds tension to the chord because it's not part of the original triad. So if you think of a C major scale, just one octave, right? If we take a C chord, we could add any of those. You know, add 2, sus4, just a G5, then a 6, major 6, major 7.
I love that one. I've been using that in songwriting recently, and it's just
major 7s are pretty cool. I mean,
I got one that's just like, oh wait, where is it? I always forget. I'm confused now. Anyway,
so like a tension is a note you added to a triad, and it's not part of the triad. It's another note. And then again, the question is, how do you know which notes to add?
Yeah.
Right. So if you read a couple of past lesson sheets, so if you don't have them, I'll send them to you again.
If you could, that'd be great. Yeah. Sorry, my email is carnage at the moment. Actually, no, this will be on uni email though.
Yeah.
Won't it?
Yeah, it should be. I think I've been sending everyone to a uni address.
Yeah.
Right. So like the last couple of weeks of lessons, the first one was taking, your triad, adding the really easy. So for one, you got to practice that shit. Man. Right, that's just
Yeah, I can do that without contacting. That's fine. I'm just messing
inversions, like first inversion, second inversion, root inversion of C. So it goes 2 open 1.
Yeah.
All right, then we get 5 5 5. Second inversion,
Oh,
and the root
then-
inversion 10 9 8.
Oh, that's super easy. Okay.
Right. All right. Now that shit needs to be practiced
Yeah.
a lot because we're talking about like how do we get access to various
Fingering?
parts of the neck.
What? Like, what are you? What are we doing?
Like it will change. I was doing this at the moment.
Yeah. So just the 5. I was just wondering what you wanted that. I mean, it makes sense to do 1 because then you're going into the. Oh.
Yeah, it will change depending on the demands of what's going on at the time.
Well, then I'll just practice. No, I'll just practice all 4 fingers. How's that?
Well, like when you start putting extensions in, it's not that crazy. Because like if you go to say minor and do the minor forms, you take all the 3s and flatten them.
Wait, where was that?
So take the first shape. Difference between major and minor. Minor is a major with a flat third, right? So we find the third. This is first inversion. Third is in the bottom. So we flatten the lowest note. All right. Now I like to finger
But don't
like
hit
this.
the E string, that's for sure.
Yeah, because then you have a major third against a minor third. Sharp 9 sounds. Right. So I like to finger it like this with my third and fourth finger, because when we come up to the next chord, which is going to be, this would be the major version, right? Well, it's the second inversion. In second inversion, where's your third?
Oh God. See, I shouldn't have to look at a piano to be able to do that. That's
Nope.
training. You're right there.
Should just be on the top of your head.
In second inversion.
Second inversion.
Oh, it's on the top.
On the top. So we flatten the top note.
Sorry, I really overthought that, didn't I?
Yeah. So there we go. We've got C minor. Okay, then we come up to root inversion. Find the third in root inversion. So back one, because that's C sharp, yeah.
It's in the second place. No.
Yeah. It's in the
Yeah, it
middle.
is in the second place.
1 3 5, right? So like we take the 3 and we move it down a fret.
Yeah.
Do it with a partial bar. Like
Keep
partial
it
bar
in
with the
the-
first finger.
Oh yeah, good
Wait,
point.
yeah.
Whoa.
On the 8th fret, you want 10 8 8. You've moved it down a tone instead of moving down a semitone.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. So they're your minors, right?
I like that. Just finding all these chords.
Right. So you got to practice both of those sets of things.
Oh, don't hit any other strings. That note to self.
Yeah.
The D
you gotta
and the
target
E
jump
both
and
sound
C.
awful if you.
And like obviously the next step would be after
Sorry,
you get
the
that
A.
down really well. Right, like after you get that down really well, you want to extend that to other strings too. So you want to, and
But the shapes are probably going to be different.
they're all related. You know that all the shapes on the guitar are the same except for the B E string, which moves everything up a fret.
Yeah. So there's. Yeah, it's like when you're tuning.
Here's something that may blow your mind. This E shape and this A shape are the same shape. Right? Here's E. If we move this finger up a fret because of the B string, we get 3 in a row, right? So when we're on the A shape, we have to move that up because the B string, E string moves everything up.
Hold on, you're going to have to repeat that all over again. Alex, you're talking
Okay.
way too fast. You know this now.
So these two strings, right? Any fingering that hits these two strings gets moved up a fret.
Yeah, sure.
All right?
Like when you do power chords and everything like that.
Yeah. So just like power chords.
And like when you're tuning, you have to go down.
Right, because everything else is in fourths, but then the G and B is in a third.
Yeah.
Right? So if you think of this E shape, all right, if we just move that down one string and you go, oh no, I've got to break the B string's got to come up a fret. Now we're at A. So the two shapes are the same shape.
Shit, yeah, you're right.
Right? So you can apply that to like even this string. Like think of this one, right? E major's this one, but the top two strings have been moved up a fret because of the B E problem. Oh, it's the same.
Oh, okay, stop it.
right?
Breaking my
Um,
mind here.
So the simple answer is, yeah, if you learn them on these strings, like this one, like here's second inversion, root inversion, first inversion. Next set of strings up. What do we start on? Second inversion. So second inversion, root inversion, first inversion. So they're the same. We started here second inversion. So when we jump up another string, this
Yeah, that
one's
just
going to have to
hit
come
me.
up a
Were we
fret.
starting on second down here?
Oh, no. I was doing the bass strings, and it's easy to start on second inversion.
Oh, sure. Okay, good. No, I was just like, hold up. Did I?
No, we were starting here at first inversion.
Okay, good.
Right?
That's good to know.
But if we do that in the bass, I suppose we could do E, right? That's first inversion for E.
I'm just
And if
making
you
it more difficult for you.
Right? If you think of this shape again, well, when we hit the B string, this fret's going to have to come up a fret, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're going to get this shape, which is the one we were talking about before here.
Yeah. Oh my
Right?
God. Stop.
So they are genuinely all the same shape. You just got to bend those two strings up a fret, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden all your chord shapes are, very familiar.
Yeah.
So step one for your new practice regime, practice that to the point where you know it, at least on the three strings.
Yeah. Well, I
Step
might
two,
I'll stick with that until I'm comfortable with moving it around, everywhere.
yeah, like, I don't know. The way I learned it was I learned position by position. So, like, I would get really bored doing this as practice.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I do some of that, but it doesn't really work for me to do that long time. So what I immediately want to do is I want to turn something into something musical. So
Yeah.
if it was, for me, I would immediately practice a chord progression. So I might go say like C and F, right? That's 1 to 4. So it's C, it's the closest C and F I can get. C first inversion to an F root inversion.
Oh, you're doing it? Okay. I just
Yep.
always love the E string sounding, like as in without barring.
Yeah, that makes a
Definitely
second sound. Right, so then you might, like, you take that. Right, like just constantly moving between two sounds, right? That's the kind of thing I immediately look for whenever I learn a new thing, right?
Sure.
Because without it, I get pretty bored pretty quickly.
Then it's just technical. It's always technical. You're not getting practical with that, I feel like.
Yeah. So like for me, it's straight to music. Straight as soon as you can get it to music, and then like the thing is, I'll practice that for, I don't know, a half hour if I started doing it. And I'll start going, yeah, well, I'm kind of sick of the range.
Yeah.
Like I've got, which you should know modally. That's your Phrygian mode, right? So I've just got my Phrygian mode here to work on, and they're my sweet notes that I'm going to focus around. If you want to do something really like paint by numbers as an approach, what you want to do is think of here's some chord tones, and here are the next set of chord tones. I've got to connect them somehow.
Yeah.
Right. So. Right. So every line is leading me towards one of those notes of the chord. Then I would expand it out. Here's my next. So if we do our inversion thing, right? That's my next C. So the next F will be around here somewhere, which will be this first inversion. Do the same thing here. Right?
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
And you play around with it in that sense because it starts giving you a map of your fretboard, right? You know where the 1 chord is and you know where the 4 chord is.
Yeah.
You can support all of that with your scales.
Pentatonic.
Yeah, definitely. Pentatonic's awesome, right? Like, so if we take C major pentatonic, A minor, in all of its positions, right? Then we can use those chord shapes. And you're like, okay, when I change the F chord, these are the notes I have to hit. But in between, I can fill it with C pentatonic. So we turn it into blues.
Because I'm obsessed with blues right now.
Right? As long as you're hitting that change on the B, it's going to sound good. All right? Then you can expand out past that point, include your 5. Once you've got 1, 4, and 5, and you know those in at least 3 locations on the neck. 1, 4, and we could go 5 here. It's kind of cool to do this as a trick. Right, so that's one way of climbing the neck doing 1, 4, 5. So you do first inversion here. Right, then you go root inversion F, so that's your 4. Well, we all know a 5 is going to be a tone above that. There's 5.
Oh.
Well, now we are up to the next inversion of C. The next inversion of C is second inversion here. 5, 5, 5. Right? I'd switch to first finger for this. And then you go to first inversion for F.
Wait, where's the... Oh, it was right there.
So first inversion, 7, 5, 6. Your ring finger should be on the D string. This is all DGB. Yeah. All right, so that's 4. So 5 is going to be up a tone from there. So let's just go over that much. Yep, and then up a tone. Right now we're at root inversion. Then we go 4, 5 as second inversion. So we get 10, 10, 10, 12, 12, 12. And then we're back at first inversion again. So this whole thing starts again. So you can come up and down the neck going, ah, shit. And that's like, that means that once you can do that, you know where 1, 4, and 5 is. And if you don't know where 1, 4, and 5 is, you can work the rest of it out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you need a 2 chord. Well, a 2 chord's going to be a 1 chord that slides up a tone, because we know 1 and 2 are a tone apart. But it's going to be minor, so we flatten that.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, so you get 1, 2. And similarly, like, 3 is going to be a semitone below 4. So if you know where 4 is, and you move it back a semitone, and you make it minor, we've got the 4 chord. Sorry, so we've got the 3 chord, right? So then you've got stuff that you can really start using to make a whole bunch of colors. Then you can really represent any chord progression, right? And it doesn't matter what style you're in. If it's rock, metal, classical, pop, whatever it is, good lines represent the chord. So, and you can like...
Octave is too much fun.
Sorry?
I've got octave on, and it's just too much fun.
Oh, yeah, I've got a pretty good one in my my Boss MD pedal, which is like, it does like multi octaves, so it's like immediately makes you sound like an organ.
Mine's the multi overtone. Oh, have you got the multi effects one?
Yeah, I've got the MD 500.
Yeah, that's probably the same.
Yeah, it's the same thing, overtone. Yeah.
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 But yeah, it does really sound like an organ depending on what settings you got it on.
So that comes back to that whole thing you were saying earlier about, like, you're not going to write a hit song with that.
Yeah.
And you totally will, right? It's all the same rules, right?
I'm more meant you're not going to write it in that,
in that particular...
all the modes from the scale in one,
Yeah, like you gotta be selective. And weirdly, one of the hardest chord progressions to play over is the pop progression.
Yeah.
Because you've got to hit the right tones at the right times, otherwise it does not work.
Yeah, it's not like pentatonic where it's going to sound good no matter which one's hit.
Yeah, I mean, all the best pentatonic players also do a lot of shaping where they're like, oh, no, I'm going to follow these chords really strictly. Anyway, okay, so your inversions to start with. Get to know your neck in shapes where when you start seeing a chord progression, you can think of 3 ways of playing that chord progression at least. We just went over, right? Okay, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have to climb the 5 chord every time. I could do, right? Because that's a 5 chord there. That's right. So there's going to be multiple paths through this thing. So whenever you learn a song, whenever you write a song, you want to check out multiple versions of how to get through that. I mean, it's going to, for one thing, they all give you a different emotional content. They all have a slightly different meaning to them.
Yeah.
But on top of that, they also give you places to go. It's really fun to think of a chord progression where you're like, okay, I'm going to do a chord progression, but I'm going to climb the neck with it.
Yeah.
Because climbing, coming up, tends to ratchet up tension.
Yeah.
Right? If you're supporting a dude who's like busting out a crazy cool solo, the chords that you play should comp his solo, which is a jazz idea. But it's this idea that if you just keep playing the same old crap in the backing, it just sounds flatter. Like rather than something that follows what he's doing, or vice versa. You want the person behind you to do that. I was listening to I don't know if you know who Tom Bukovac is.
Who was it?
Tom Bukovac. He's
no clue.
Okay,
Jazz musicians I know. George Benson and George Benson.
Okay, so you should check out Tom Bukovac. His channel is 501 Chorus Echo.
I do love jazz. I just don't know the names of jazz people I listen to. Which is
Django Reinhardt.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like Bill Evans. Bill Evans, and you see the trumpet there? Yeah. So, okay. Those primary colors were like the first kind of lesson back. Then we talked about what extensions to add to make chords sound cooler.
Sure.
And the simple ones are, for major, you can add the 6 and the 9, which you kind of already know. Like, everyone's seen those pop songs. And why I say they're
add 9s everywhere.
Yeah, right. Like they're a pretty sound, but they're kind of in many ways inoffensive.
Oh no.
Like they work almost all the time. There'll be 1 or 2 situations where it'll sound a bit funny, but not on a minor chord. Right? If we have a listen to say, here's a C add 9, right? Here's a C6. Or this one.
Yeah,
right?
do the higher one. Just because the microphone.
So if you take a normal C-shape, A-shape bar chord, right? What we need to do is add the 6 of the scale, which is A. That's the 5. So if you do a bar that goes 5, 5, 5, 5, the bottom 4 strings, that's a C6, right? Jazz players and a lot of 50s music, a lot of Beatles stuff ends on that, right? It's the jazz equivalent of full stop because there's no inherent tension. Like, it's a cool extension. This is a 6/9 chord, so this is 3 2 2 3 3. 3 2 2 3 3.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's the jazz equivalent of full stop. It has no inherent tensions. It doesn't push you anywhere. So if I do a major 7, this interval is pretty complex, and it asks to be resolved, right? And we usually we resolve it in the 6 chord, right? Because usually the chord progression, I'm sure you know, is 1 6
No,
2 5. Seriously? Man,
no, I was joking. I definitely know it.
Right.
I was like, no, what's that?
So, like, the reason it works is that creates a whole bunch of tension. And you're like, ooh, that's got to go away somewhere.
Yeah.
There it went away in the A minor, right? It comes up to the 3rd of the A minor.
Let me just do that so you can actually see me. Hi.
Hey. All right, so so they don't end on major 7th chords. If they did, there's this inherent restlessness in it that implies there's going to be something else afterwards. If you end on a 6/9, it's a full stop. It's like, no, I don't need to go anywhere. I'm perfectly chill being where I am.
How would you put a 6th if you're doing like a...
Got the is.
Yeah, doing that chord, or like just any of the.
Well, what inversion is this, right? Bring it back to your inversions. This is a root inversion shape, right?
You just haven't. You're just doing the same thing but not adding.
So like, yeah, I know you've got these strings open, but like if you want to find out where a 6 is, you go here's root inversion. Where is 6 closest to in a 1-3-5? Probably 5.
5.
Yeah. So it's a tone up from 5. So if you find where 5 is, we move it up a tone. All right, and we get. All right, and that's a D6. Actually, well, the B in it is already a 6. You might notice the open B string is a 6, and then sus2 on top because the E is a 2 to a D chord.
It's pretty though.
Yeah, super pretty.
I'm a big fan of pretty chords because when you
However,
give them space, they can be so good. But I do get sick of them sometimes, like these ones. Just you can overuse them so easily.
well, I mean, what you can find, right, is if you know what extensions you're using and why those chords sound cool, you can then start using them all over the neck in different places, and that'll keep you entertained for a hell of a lot longer. Okay, 6 and 9 though on a minor chord are like some of the most heartbreaking sounds we can use. Right, so here's C minor, right? Let's do this C minor here. I love this inversion. It sounds super dramatic. Here's C minor 9.
Yeah.
Right, it's pretty dark. Here's another C minor 9.
Yeah.
Right. Here's C minor 6. Right. So let's do this one. Another one. Right, like they're pretty dark flavors. They're cool, and I happen to like dark flavors. You know, I have a secret theory that like all guitarists are manic depressive at heart. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, because like I don't know if I've taught heaps of people classical guitar, and when you hit the minor section, you're like, oh man, this is so much better than the major section. Like, I can't wait to get back to the minor section. You're like, man, we're all so bloody depressive, caught up in like. They're not wrong though. The minor sections are cool generally.
Yeah, I prefer usually writing songs in minor than major, which is a crappy thing to say because it sounds so limiting, which it can be. you got to be careful.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what you really want to do is make sure that you have light and shade. Everything's about tension and release.
Yeah.
Right. So like, minor songs sound better if there's a section which has a major bit in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and vice versa too. That being said, you know, there was anyway. Jump off that train. So 6 and 9 in major, the sweet ones you can pretty much always add, and in minor, the really dissonant ones.
Yeah.
They're quite dramatic. In minor, the ones that are easy are 7 and 4. Right. So if we take C minor and we put it C minor 7.
Yeah.
We go D. Cool. D minor, right? D minor and D minor 7. If you make it minor 7, you make it more like its relative major, which softens the chord. It makes it less dramatic. Right? It sounds more like an F chord, which is its relative major. So whenever you want to get a minor chord, and you're like, oh, the minor chord is too bold for here, and I want to kind of chill it out a bit. Minor 7 or sus4. You know, it's pretty. There's both 7 and 4 together.
Well, that's nice. I like that one.
Yeah, but those ones are the ones that on minor chords you can pretty much add at virtually any time, unless what you need is a dramatic minor sound. Right? Dramatic minor sounds, they're your 6s and 9s.
6 and 9s, yeah.
Right? And like you can go out from there. So like in the past couple of weeks we went into flat 9 sharp 5, you know, those kind of things. Because you seem to like listen to a little bit of jazz. Jazz players tend to think in 3 categories. We've got major, minor, and dominant.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So major chords are, you know, the 1 chord and the 4 chord of a key, and dominant chords are dominant chords. Anything that is a dom 7, it's directing us back to 1.
Sure.
So one of my favorite things to do on a dominant chord is to use like flat 9, sharp 9.
That is a dominant shape, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be careful with the open B string though, because that's gonna like On the B chord it'll be fine, but on the C chord, it's they're having that. You've got dominant seventh here and major seventh here.
Oh, I wasn't trying to hit that.
Yeah, so that's a. I mean, look, that's this root, right? Root triad. You can find the 7 a minor third above the fifth. So here's the fifth. 1, 2, 3. There you go. That's the shape. Got to study your triads, right? Because this is how you can like actually make sense of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, map out the fretboard as to what you actually know is going on, so then you can figure things out.
All right, you said you like minor, so let's cap this off. Now, in order to keep catching you up, mate, it would be really good to meet up and have a video chat outside of lessons because we've only got a couple left.
Sure. I mean, what if I just show up to this one, no one else?
Yeah, I mean that might be how it goes. So, quick, cool minor progression, right? If you imagine a C minor, we're going C minor down to F minor. All right, like the first two chords in the blues, like the first two chords in 500,000 minor jazz standards. The problem is we've got C minor happening for ages. Right? Okay, it takes forever. So what a lot of jazz players will do is it's called a minor line cliche.
Wait, are you doing C minor or C sharp minor?
Yes, C minor.
Oh, I was so confused. I was like, that's not C sharp.
So find your root. Your root's here, right? It's the second inversion triad. Your root's in the middle. So it's on the G string.
I'm sure.
Yep. So a minor line cliche, same chord, so C minor, right? But your pinky note, that's the root.
Oh, yeah. It is on. Yeah, okay, sure.
So a minor line cliche is going to get you to walk that note down chromatically. And the whole point is that, remember we were talking about chromatic lines earlier. Chromatic lines that point between one chord tone and another.
Yeah.
Well, this is going from this C, and we're going down to the third from the F chord. So we get this. End it with. Yeah, it's a sweet little progression, and it's quite fun to improvise around. So all we're doing, right, is walking this pinky note down. So you start here at C minor, then we move that note down to here, right, one semitone down. It's very hard to do it, so you got to reorganize your fingers, right? Because you can't just tuck your pinky underneath all those other ones. So what we need to do is keep this much of C minor the same, but we're going to move the middle line.
Okay, what do you move it to?
So fingering, that's it, yep. And then you take that finger off to get C minor 7.
Like that? Oh.
Well, it should be, that one's off. So it's a C minor 7, you know that shape. So put your second finger back on.
I'm doing one of those things,
Yeah,
where you just...
Here, play C minor for a second. Now play C minor 7. That's the chord we're going to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so you get C minor major 7. C minor 7. Now C minor 6, we need this note here, the A, on the G string back here. So I'm going to refinger everything like this and drop the D string out. Just do a partial of 3.
All right.
Yeah, so you want the G string should be on A. Yeah. And the D string is not being played at this stage because we played the. Yeah. I mean, we could get a 9 in there as well, but it's too close to the C to make it sound cool. Then we get to F minor. And I really like to go to say F minor 9 at that stage because the 9th on 2 sounds really cool. So it's, here's the root note, right? Root note, you come up a tone.
Yeah. But where
that's the 9th.
What are you borrowing and what are you borrowing?
So I'm really the full chord if I'm going to strum all 6 strings would be that. So it's 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3. Yeah. F minor 9. Right, now in jazz land, we're kind of like, and in blues land, we'd be coming towards the 5, right? And in jazz, we're going to do a 2-5 instead. So minor 2-5 is going to be D minor 7 flat 5. So that's going to go 5-6 5-6. 5, 6,
Sorry.
5, 6. 5 on the A.
Oh, other way.
Yeah. 5, 6, 5, 6. We put the one on top. Yep. All right. Then we go to some kind of G7, right? So like a standard G7 bar. Now, I don't want it to be standard G7. I want it to be probably augmented, probably flat 9s. So augmented would be like this. Right, because we took the 5 and we sharpened
Can't
it.
hit the A. I mean the.
Yeah,
there's
the A
something you
string.
can hit the.
You got to avoid the A. Now, if you go this one as well, that's a flat 9, which is pretty sweet.
Oh, cats! That's a friggin' stench. All right.
Man, I had one of those the other week where like
Yeah.
one of mine
That's
dropped the worst thing, and I'm just trying to last the last like half hour of one of these lessons. Just going.
It's good. I got a gas mask. Soviet wood gas mask.
Right, so flat 9s are found a semitone above the root. So, and that is a total chord progression. Is the backbone of My Funny Valentine, pretty much any minor jazz song. But they are pretty chords to play around with.
Yeah, that's nice.
And you can do that all too. Like this, you could use like we're talking about minor 9 earlier. Right, different positions. Oh, actually, you might also notice it's the start of Stairway to Heaven.
No, stop. I'll kick you out.
But it is, right? And this is why it's ridiculous for anyone to try to copyright that line. It's a minor line cliche. It's been used for the past 100 years.
Yeah.
As a way of, I'm on the 1 chord for a while, right? All right, anyway, I got to run to my next one. So,
yes, all good.
Brush up a bit on your triads. Go over some of those chords. Think about your extensions a bit. And regroup when you've done that. So I don't know when that works for you. We could do next week or something.
Yeah, we'll text, figure something out.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Bye-bye.